Welcome to the discussion session of Freaky Tales for You, a place where queer artists dissect erotic fan fiction through an intersectional, sex-positive lens. This episode, we're talking about They Don't Call It a Job for Nothing by These Violet Delights. The reading of this story was in the previous episode. You might want to take a listen for some context.
I hope you enjoyed our first Star Wars story.
Say hi, Alistair.
Hi.
How did you feel about your first story?
I really enjoyed this one, mostly because the power dynamics were very funny. I had a good time reading it.
Was this your first Star Wars fanfic?
You know, I think it was.
Talk some about your relationship to Star Wars.
I very recently, in like the past 4 years, have seen all of it. Kind of for the first time. I had seen some Star Wars when I was much younger, but it was like in the background and other people were watching it, so I never really remembered it growing up.
Did y'all watch it in like first trilogy, second trilogy order, or did you do the like chronological order?
I don't know how to say what you just said, but I think it was the first one.
So if you're a total Star Wars noob, there is the OG trilogy from the 70s, and then there is the second round of trilogies from the 2000s, and those were the prequels to the 70s trilogy. And then what's happening now, some of the one-offs actually predate the prequels or are kind of in between certain prequels, or in between the prequels and the OG trilogy. So everything happened completely out of order. I saw them in the film order first, because I was raised on the OG trilogy, and the second trilogy came out when I was like a kid, and so I really loved them when they first came out. And then as I've gotten older and I have more critique on my films, I have seen what trash they are, and then I've come back around to being like, oh well, they're trash because no one knew how to collaborate with George Lucas / George Lucas can't collaborate with people. He was too much of like a god of those sets. And so shit was just like whatever he was thinking. And the OG trilogy was good because Carrie Fisher and fucking, what's his face? Indiana Jones. Because those two were constantly fighting with George Lucas and like doing things their own way. Yeah, I'm an asshole and refuse to say Han Solo. I absolutely just completely snubbed Han Solo like that. Yeah. I still won't say the Harrison Ford. There it goes. Yeah, so Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford are so much of the reason that the OG trilogy, at least script-wise and acting-wise, ended up being as good as it is. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? As someone who's, like, just seen them recently.
That is a really hard question. Are you wanting me to pick from the older movies or from the newer ones that have come out, or does it matter?
I mean, I believe they're all Star Wars films, so like I'm the kind of motherfucker that like includes the Clone Wars cartoon as part of the like visual fandom.
Wow.
I'm not a book reader, so I mean that's a lie. I'm a book reader. I'm not a Star Wars book reader.
Yes, be specific.
Yeah. Because there's a whole other universe that I, like, haven't touched that's just in the books. And I have good friends that are, like, avid Star Wars book readers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Not to mention the comics.
Yeah. No, I am sure. From what I have heard, this is a very developed world.
Yeah, this is like a huge world.
I really love Rogue One. I am pawing through my head to remember the names of the other Star Wars movies because I can't remember the name of the other one I really enjoyed. I am sheepishly admitting that. Yeah, no, I think it was the really campy one that I really enjoyed that had what were they? They looked like a bunch of tiny fuzzy little bears.
Talking about Ewoks?
Yeah. I liked them.
The Ewoks first were in Return of the Jedi, which is...
Yeah, that was it.
You're like, yeah, totally called that.
That was the one. I knew that name for sure. Totally. I didn't.
So Return of the Jedi is the third of the original trilogy. It was late 70s, early 80s. So I'll correct myself from a minute ago. Honestly, a lot of people have issues with the Ewoks. And they're the same people, probably mostly, that have issues with Jar Jar Binks from the 2000s trilogy. And I get it, but also, fuck them.
What are the issues that people have with the Ewoks?
I mean, both the Ewoks and Jar Jar Binks, people, I think it mostly comes from a place of, this is making my sci-fi juvenile, and this is making my sci-fi like less respectable or less for adults because it's got this like cute or ridiculous character. And you know, I'm no Jar Jar stan. I think that he's a mostly useless character who's, you know, fairly racist and strange.
Remind me, Jar Jar is that weird giant slug looking thing, right? Am I wrong? No. Something else. Sorry.
Sorry. Try not to laugh in your face. Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
But as I'm like saying the name, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Even as I'm like, actually, it's Jabba, not Jar Jar. And I'm like, you're a douchebag. You sound awful. But yeah, Jabba the Hutt is the evil slug man.
Yeah.
Jar Jar is a Gungan, which are those like amphibian species.
It's the one with the like fishy frills on the face and the tall stalk eyes, right?
Yeah, he looks like...
That was my second guess.
Yeah.
In my brain.
You got it. And the second guess. If it was a 50-50 chance, you would have failed.
Thanks. It did fail, but whatever.
You would have gotten a 0. So Jar Jar has that quasi Jamaican accent for no reason.
I hear that for some people, like, those characters make it feel more juvenile. But to me, I feel like it rounds the world out a little bit more to, like, have those campy comedy reliefs because, like, in the real world, you know, there are cute, silly things.
Yeah. But then I am a complete sucker for the current ones. Mostly because I'm just, like, thirsty. I'm a thirsty Star Wars addict. So... every new one that comes out, just kidding, I didn't see Solo in theaters. I know, shocking with how I just insulted the character. I had no desire to see that. I watched it on HBO. The best part was fucking Childish Gambino, Donald Glover being sexy ass Lando Calrissian. That was dope. But every single other one, I have been, like, in the theater, seen it more than once. Rogue One, I saw, like, 5 times.
I loved Rogue One.
Oh, my God. I loved Rogue One so much. It's fine. I have a couple Rogue One fics we'll get to. Anyway, wrong movie. Today we going in on Kylo Ren and fucking Hux, which is one of my newest pairings. and I have been devouring that gross shit. How did you like it?
They are a surprisingly hot pair. I mean, I guess it isn't surprising, only in that their fights with each other in the movies are great. Very charged, you know? So, yeah, no, I'm very excited by this pairing.
It gives me all the feelings that I used to have for Harry Draco. All the vibes of, like, we're both really powerful. I guess I read a lot of dark Harry fic. Let me just say that about myself. I read a lot of stories that were trying to make sense of how this character probably had a huge dark side. And so in all my stories that I loved, it was always like dark Harry getting it on with Draco, because like no one else will like let him be weird or gross or whatever dark shit.
Mm-hmm.
But this is that without the angst of, oh no, I'm dark. Where it's like, oh, y'all are this intense with each other because you're both just evil. And
straight up.
Like, you're both just evil. And so the idea that you're both going into this out of a manipulative place and you're both going into this out of like a one-upmanship place is completely in character.
Yeah, no, I loved the failed plan that Hux had. This like certainty that he had going into this scenario, thinking, oh, well, I'm just gonna like bring Ren to his knees and he's gonna like fall head over heels for me, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
That like I'm gonna like trick him with my tongue type of deal. And in the end, he's just covered in cum and kind of mad and happy about it at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I like.
I love the ending. Hux has kind of opened a door that he doesn't know how to close, with like starting this game with Ren where it's like, oh, you think you've sucked him off and you've gotten what you wanted. Yeah, but in the end, there are 4 more planets to go. Like, you have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And it's really likely that every time you're just gonna show a little more of your hand and show a little more of your, like, desires and vulnerability.
Yeah, no, I loved the little cliffhanger bit there because it really, it felt like, oh, this could just keep going. They're just gonna be in this fucking room having a weird power exchange where Hux is mostly just gonna turn into a little sub.
And I think that's so in character. I mean, just thinking about some of the clips we watched and how Hux engages, and how Domhnall Gleeson plays that character. He's like straight up sniveling in every scene.
Yes.
Like genuinely making the wildest faces. And is also trying to power grab a lot.
Mm-hmm.
To varying levels of success. Just thinking about the "we have no ruler" scene. I'm sorry, I'm just obsessed with this one meme where it's Domhnall Gleeson saying that, and then it's Adam Driver and someone added a foot-long ruler into his hand. I think it's so funny. Anyway, in that scene,
the one that does not actually contain a ruler, I'm assuming.
Yes, no, there's no ruler. They added the ruler to the forced choke.
Yes, of course.
This fic had my favorite tag of any Star Wars tag, and that is inappropriate use of the Force. That genuinely makes me laugh every time I see it. The way Domhnall Gleeson plays his character and the way Hux kind of tries to grab for power, but in the end, he isn't a Jedi. You know, he can do as much like political squaring up as he wants to, but he's still surrounded by people like Ren and people like Snoke who can throw him across the room from half a galaxy away. So it's like, what are you really gonna do here?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Just throw tantrums.
He just throws so many tantrums. So Domhnall Gleeson, the first thing I saw him in, Bill Weasley.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Whoa.
In the Deathly Hollows, yeah. In
Wow.
both of the Deathly Hollows.
That definitely explains why the face is so familiar.
He's in an episode of Black Mirror. He's the techie character in Dread. Did you see Dread?
Dread?
Yeah, it's got Carl Urban and I forget the main femme's name. They play like future cops, and it's like this one block that's like a super tall project. And Lena Headey plays the big gang boss, and Domhnall Gleeson plays her main tech dude.
That sounds super funny. I don't think I've seen that.
It's a pretty stylized action movie. I think it's on HBO. He's Caleb in Ex Machina.
Yeah.
He's also in Peter Rabbit.
I have not seen that, but I believe you.
And actually, most importantly to me, my favorite Domhnall Gleeson movie is Frank.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's the lead dude in Frank.
Oh my goodness. I love Frank.
I know.
That movie is so weird.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Frank, it's about a guy named Frank who wears a paper mache head and is the lead singer of an abstract psych rock band.
Yeah.
And Domhnall Gleeson plays a shitty, semi-talented musician who arguably is learning from / leeching off / taking advantage of this group of people that don't really want fame so much as they just want to be a band. And the music in Frank makes me think of Adventure Time.
I can see that.
So Adam Driver, I don't know about you, but whenever I see Adam Driver, I'm like, what is this random giant doing on my TV? Like, even if I am watching something where I know he's in it, I still have a moment of being, like, very startled. I never watched Girls, so I feel a little lucky, not gonna lie, that I don't have that impression, that, like, character of him isn't in my knowledge of Adam Driver.
Yeah, that was a hate watch of mine for a little while. I watched a couple seasons of Girls, and it made me feel really unhappy. Like, really, really angry.
Oh,
like,
my
angry
God.
just all the time because of the trash I was watching.
Wow.
And it really painted an impression on me about Adam Driver for a while. I really hated him for a while. And then I saw him in other things, and I was like, you know what? You're a good actor. You're a really good actor. You were on a trash show. And you acted good on it. Because I hated you.
I mean, sometimes that is the tea with actors. You're like, ooh, do I hate you? Or are you really good at being a douchebag?
Yeah.
I would say my favorite Adam Driver movie is well, one, I'm really excited because I'm looking at his IMDb right now and seeing that he's the voice of Art the Artist on Bob's Burgers.
Oh my God.
Marshmallow's like boyfriend friend person
Oh.
who steals Linda's ornaments in The Bleakening,
Yeah.
which is a Christmas episode from a couple of years ago. Hi, spoiler alert, I'm obsessed with Bob's Burgers. Moving on. Logan Lucky or Midnight Special for favorite Adam Driver movie?
Oh shit. I love Midnight Special so much.
I know. I've been craving to
Ooh.
watch both those movies lately, so I'm like, ooh, I love your weird face.
Remind me, Logan Lucky was that gambling movie?
Logan Lucky is, I have called it the best Ocean's 11 movie. I'm just saying that to be descriptive, in that it's a heist movie where folks have to convince all these random characters to be part of the heist. But instead of it being a bunch of urban con men, it's a bunch of rural weirdos of different kinds. Highly recommend both Midnight Special, Logan Lucky. Adam Driver is more of a main character in Logan Lucky, but he is a great character in Midnight Special.
And Midnight Special is still, like, one of my favorite sci-fi movies at this point. It's
Point
in
blank.
my top 5,
Point blank, absolutely.
possibly number 1.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. There is a new Star Wars coming out in December. Are you excited? I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm excited.
Yes, I am excited.
It's probably going to be good.
If it's bad, how many times are you going to see it? Just out of curiosity. Will you see it more or less?
Honestly, I don't know. Because sometimes I see movies that confuse me a lot because I'm trying to grapple with their existence.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've talked about this. Maybe I haven't. But I watched Crimson Peak by fucking Guillermo del Toro, who I love. But that movie was horrible. I watched that, upwards of a dozen times in a month. Because I was just trying to figure out what happened. It could have been so good, and it just wasn't. To veer back on topic, sucking cock was the main sex act of this story.
It sure was.
Were there any other sex acts?
There was no other sex act.
Were you into that? How'd you feel?
Normally, I like to see a little bit more variation in the play in my like erotic literature. But for this, I kind of really liked it because there was kind of like, you got some backstory on Hux about like other dynamics that he had that were all blowjobs. And then you got to see how this dynamic was completely different, mostly because Kylo Ren like uses the Force on him and is like, no, let's pry in there and take a little peek on what's in your brain and then use it against you, which, you know, worked. It worked.
Yeah, I mean, I got the feeling in this world, in this version of Hux, that maybe blowjobs are as far as he's gone.
You know, I think in this world, I agree. But I feel like there was an implication at the end of the story that there was more to come.
Exactly. I was going to circle back and say, like, I think that's part of what I liked about the ending, was this feeling of like, oh, Kylo Ren's about to take him deeper than he's ever imagined into these power games. And like, yay, power games.
Yeah. No, I think it worked really well also because, you know, Hux enters with this idea of like wanting to gain something from Ren, but that's completely shattered, and instead he wants something completely different from Ren. He actually just wants his cock at the very end and is very angry about it. that one point where the story describes Hux just like digging his nail in and his face going red and him just like steaming at it.
Just like choking himself on that dick. Absolutely. I was like, that is a fervor I am queer for.
Yeah,
like...
yeah, no, that's me. Definitely. I love just gagging myself. So I felt really great about that description.
Felt very seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think my favorite visual was when it's talked about Hux doing literally all the work and Kylo is just standing there, like, hands on his hips, like hips thrust forward. Yeah. That's hot. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm just standing here. Yeah. And you're just going in and like gagging yourself and looking like a wild, and I'm putting in zero effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely that you did it to yourself vibe.
Do you have a least favorite part of the story?
I wasn't a huge fan of the like dirty talking moment where Hux gets called a whore, but that's mostly just because I'm not favorable to the use of the word. In the context, it like worked, but I also just like meh.
I agree. Could do without, but also get it. Part of the verbal humiliation.
Yeah, I definitely prefer slut as a word if you're gonna like go for verbal humiliation, but that's personal preferences here.
Was there any romance to this story? Or is this just like a dirty...
This was dirty. This was like some straight up just power dynamic smut. possibly a budding kink dynamic here is the only like procedural relationship I see.
Do you want to try that again?
Does that not make sense?
Why?
Yeah, I don't see this as a relationship that proceeds farther than a very weird power imbalanced kink dynamic.
Hear that.
Hope you enjoyed this discussion session. All of our stories are sourced from archive of our own. We only use stories where authors have given direct permission via message or where the author has blanket permission on their profile. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Alistair Fern, and Saira Barbaric. You can find us on Twitter @ScumTrust and on Instagram @ScumTrustPack. And you can follow me on Instagram @LethalFern. That's Fern, FYRN. Until next time, enjoy your smut.